Hello and welcome to Odds on Bundesliga Matchday 24. I think we are all waiting for this German last 16 round or tie in the Champions League between Bayern Munich and Leverkusen, but still some bets to be done in the German Bundesliga, Ronan, because especially the fourth spot is really contested this season.
Yeah, it's a big week for German football coming up this weekend. I suppose the only thing we can guarantee is a German quarter-finalist in the Champions League. We may not be able to guarantee who's going to finish in the top four in the Bundesliga this year. Obviously, we know who the champion will be, but like other years, the top battle for the top four is pretty spicy this season, so long may that continue.
Indeed, now Freiburg is fourth in the standings. So guys, stay with us. Let's analyze everything in German football with Ronan Murphy with you. Press the like, subscribe. Let's go on now with the show. Let's start with the game we have on Friday. I am surprised. I'm sure in other countries, Bayern Leverkusen would complain for Bayern having 24 hours more of rest. They are playing on Friday against Stuttgart, a tricky game, probably. Stuttgart 7th, only 2 points away from the Champions League spots. They drop points against Hoffenheim, 1-1, and they lost to Wolfsburg before this. Bayern, Ronan, of course, getting ready for Leverkusen game. A great win against Frankfurt after that scary 1-1 against Celtic. I guess the big question, I don't know if it's answered or unanswered, if Harry Kane is fit.
Yeah, that would be the big question, but they also have fitness doubts over other key players. 𝗷𝗵𝗧𝗏 went off injured in that game. He twisted his ankle at the weekend against Frankfurt. And then the 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝑤𝐿, there's also a kind of doubt whether he'll be fit for this game this weekend. So they do have kind of fitness doubts, and that you kind of have to wonder, will that play into a team selection for Bayern Munich ahead of the Leverkusen match? Because as we know, Xabi Alonso has never lost to Bayern Munich as Bayer Leverkusen manager, so the Vincent Company will be keeping that in mind, because obviously recent history in this season's games will tell us that Leverkusen are more than a match for Bayern Munich. So Bayern Munich will have one eye on that Champions League match on Wednesday, and they do have that extra day's rest, like you said, but the extra day's rest could be needed for players like Harry Kane, Musiala, 𝗍𝐿, and other kind of players who maybe not have full fitness. But that match last week, the kind of convincing nature of the win that they got without Harry Kane shows that this Bayern Munich, I think this Bayern Munich team can find goals elsewhere, but I think it was also maybe their best performance of the season, because they showed they weren't just a one-man team. Because I said before, when Matthijs 𝗏 went out the door in January, or the start of February in the transfer window, that without Kane their season would be over. But maybe not. Maybe they can find goals elsewhere, and I think 𝗷𝗵𝗧𝗏 could be one of the players, if he's fit in this match, that could be relied on to provide those goals. He's averaging 0.67 goals per 90 minutes in the Bundesliga this season. He already has 11 Bundesliga goals, which is a fantastic kind of turnaround or turnout for someone who isn't a striker or meant to be the club's kind of leading goal scorer. So if Kane is out and Musiala starts, 𝗷𝗵𝗧𝗏 could be a good option to go for an anytime goal scorer bet at 2.95. I think that looks pretty good. The last three meetings between these sides have all been home wins, so that might give Stuttgart something to go on, or some sort of confidence leading into this match, especially with Bayern maybe having one eye on that match in midweek. Stuttgart won 3-1 in this match last season. The last 6 meetings, there's been 3 Bayern wins with 2 draws and 1 Stuttgart win, so kind of Stuttgart are picking up a result in half the matches. After that draw against Hoffenheim, which you mentioned there, that Stuttgart kind of, they were winning it. They looked kind of comfortable. They looked like they were going to win it. I think that's what happened. The players became too confident that they were going to win it. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, the head coach, came out after the game and said that the draw felt like a defeat. So he will be looking to bounce back here, and I think Stuttgart should be able to get some sort of result against Bayern Munich. So I like to look at a Stuttgart double chance at 2.27 as well.
Okay, great game. This one, Stuttgart, Bayern Leverkusen, Bayern Munich. Again, 24 hours more of rest to prepare the tie against Bayern Leverkusen. On Saturday, first game is Heidenheim Gladbach. For a while, Heidenheim were surprising us, beating Leipzig at the end, a point that also we didn't expect out of Europe. So perhaps now it's time to focus on staying in the Bundesliga. The record is so poor, and we have good odds to back Gladbach. Remember, it's only 1 point in the last 6 games. For Heidenheim, Gladbach are not in great form, but still, Ronan, great odds to back them.
Yeah, it is. It could be one that you should have a look at. Maybe if you have kind of optimism that Gladbach can get a win, but we've had that optimism recently in some matches, and they didn't kind of pull out the results that maybe we thought they should at the time. And we've seen Heidenheim kind of upset teams and score goals against teams, and they should be able to continue scoring goals against teams because that's kind of what they tend to do, score and concede. And Gladbach, we'll see again. We saw it last week, obviously, because of a red card to Jonas Omland. The Gladbach are down to their third choice goalkeeper to start this game. 𝗵𝗵𝗖𝗍 will start in this. He's 36. He's been around a bit and he has experience, but he's obviously a third choice goalkeeper for a reason, and that should help Heidenheim should score some goals. This match tends to be a match that we see lots of goals in. Every meeting in recent years since Heidenheim and Gladbach have been in the same division has been both teams to score yes. So both teams to score yes is a good option here, 157, because like I said, Gladbach are down to their third goalkeeper. Heidenheim like scoring goals, Heidenheim like conceding goals. This one as well, I think Gladbach, like you said, the odds look good because they've won 3 of the last 4 meetings between the sides. They've won 3 of the last 5 games between the sides. So if you like the look of Gladbach in this game, I definitely wouldn't advise against betting on them. But I think the goals market is kind of maybe more secure, maybe the way to go. 6 of Gladbach's games this year have had 3 or more goals. 6 of Heidenheim's games this year have had 3 or more goals. So I'm going for total goals over 2.75. That's my tip for this one. That's 186.
Let's move on to the next game. RB Leipzig Mainz. Leipzig, so difficult to trust this season. Both have the same points, both fighting to get into the Champions League spots. 5 draws in the last 6 games for Leipzig. Mainz beat Pauli and are back in the European race. What a season for Mainz.
Yeah, they are kind of performing above expectations for many people, and Leipzig are performing below expectations for many people. And Leipzig have a cup game as well this week before this game against Mainz. Obviously, we don't know the result because we're recording before it, but they host Wolfsburg in the cup on Wednesday, so you have to keep that in mind. And obviously not in the Champions League anymore, but they do have other competitions to worry about. And that could be a one to keep an eye on in case there's any injuries or anything like that comes out of that. Mainz have a suspension of their own. 𝗷𝗵𝗍𝐿 has reached 10 yellow cards this season already. This is the 6th season in the Bundesliga where he has 10 yellow cards. That's the Bundesliga record. He's equal the record of the most Bundesliga seasons with 10 or more yellow cards. So he's booked once every 2.2 games that worked out this season. He's suspended for this one. So when he's back next week, he is a good option to have to be booked bet on, but he's missing out on this one, as is Christoph Baumgartner for Leipzig. He has not had 10 yellow cards yet. He's only halfway there. But yeah, both teams who scored last season were both teams who scored no in both games last season. Leipzig won 2-0 earlier this season, so this isn't usually a high scoring thriller. Leipzig, like you said, they've had lots of draws recently, drawn 3 of their last 4 games. The other was a 2-0 win over Pauli. So yeah, they haven't been in the best of form. They've been kind of turning wins into draws or not getting wins from games they should be winning perhaps. Mainz have had both teams to score no in each of their last 5 games. So a draw could be an option here at 4. Correct score 0-0. It would be a massive risk 15, but I like the look of nothing happening whatsoever in this game because Leipzig haven't been kind of firing on all cylinders in front of goal. They've been disappointing in front of goal. They've been quite good at the back, but disappointing in front of goal. So maybe more the same in that. Last 8 years, Leipzig have had 6 wins. There's been 3 draws, but Mainz have had 5 wins in that time. So I think Mainz have a chance of getting something, judging by how Leipzig have been playing recently. And Leipzig have had too many draws. So Mainz Asian handicap plus a half looks pretty good at just under 2.
Poor season indeed for RB Leipzig, but this is a great game. Next one is Pauli Dortmund. I'm afraid of backing Dortmund in this kind of games after seeing what they did against Kiel or recently against Bochum, but of course they are favorites. Still great odds to back them. Ronan, 1.9 is very difficult to overlook, and their eyes, of course, are in the Champions League. They are playing Lille, so they have a great opportunity to be, again, in the quarterfinals. The best preparation was the 6-0 they had the previous weekend. For Pauli, perhaps they are relaxed after hitting these points, Ronan, because 3 consecutive defeats and no goals scored.
Yeah, this is not a good Pauli time at the Pauli team at the moment. It's not a good time for the club, and Borussia Dortmund, as we've seen, have been very inconsistent. But what a win last weekend, 6-0 or Union Berlin. 𝗵𝗵𝗏 scored 4 times. He's only the 4th. It was the first time in his career to do that. He's only the 3rd player since Dortmund player since 2000 to score 4 goals in a Bundesliga match. So 𝗷𝗏𝗏 and Haaland were the 2 previous ones, and Pascal Gross looked immense after getting criticised by fans and some kind of journalists recently. He provided 4 assists in that game. He's the 3rd player in the last 20 years in the Bundesliga to do that. Christopher Nkunku was the last against Schalke in 2020. So yeah, Pascal Gross is kind of coming into his own under 𝐿𝐵𝐿. It was, as we mentioned before last week's show, 𝐿𝐵𝐿 had no wins in the Westfalen Stadium. So finally he does, and it was what a win it was, 6-0. So I think Dortmund, as we know, they are a team that can score goals. They are a team that concedes goals too, and that's the reason that they haven't perhaps won as many games as they should have, or on paper they should have. They didn't score against Bochum a few weeks ago, but they tend to score goals in matches. And Pauli is a team that he usually can score goals against. So Dortmund over 1.5 goals could be a good option here at 183. If you're not kind of convinced that Dortmund can definitely win, I think they should be scoring goals at least. And the man who's been scoring goals for them is Serhou Guirassy, like those 4 goals last week that took him up to 13 Bundesliga goals this season. So he is a good bet for an anytime goal scorer at 243.
Let's go to the next game. We have Bochum, Hoffenheim, really important one. This one for the relegation. We have Bochum right now 3rd from bottom, 4 points away from Pauli and 2 points away from Heidenheim. They were able to draw against Wolfsburg. They are getting points actually, and Hoffenheim could be a good target, although they've improved in the last weeks at least to stay in the Bundesliga after a really poor season. They are 7 points away of each other, Bochum and Hoffenheim, Ronan.
Yeah, these are 2 teams who are in quite good form at the moment. You would not think that, having looked at the fixture calendar maybe a couple of months ago, that this was going to be a match that might actually be an entertaining match, a good match, because both teams are playing pretty well. And if you look at the last meetings between them, they've all been kind of high-scoring matches. The last 5 meetings have all had 4 or more total goals in them. And in Hoffenheim's 3 games that they've played against Bochum, they've won 3-2, 3-1 and 3-1. And Bochum, in the 2 games they've played at home, 5-2 and 3-2. So this is a match that usually is a thriller. So hopefully we will have more of the same on Saturday for this one. I'm not sure people will necessarily be wanting to tune into it, but if you do, maybe there's worse things to be looking at on a Saturday afternoon. Total match goals over 3 could be an option here, exactly 2 at the moment. Bochum are averaging 2 goals exactly conceded per game, so that kind of leads into the fact that it should be an entertaining game. Hoffenheim are capable of scoring. 𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗏 obviously scored the equaliser last week, so they have a new option in attack. We were hoping that he might be able to provide some goals because 𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗏 has been underperforming this season, so hopefully he can kind of spur them on to get a bit more goals. So Hoffenheim over 1.5 goals could be a good option here at 217, so they just need to score twice for that to come in for you. Yeah, Hoffenheim are after beating Bremen and drawing with Stuttgart in the last 2 games, and they put in good performances in them, and I think they can put in another good performance here. I know Bochum have had good results lately, especially that win over Dortmund and draws with Kiel and Wolfsburg, but I think Hoffenheim can get something from this one, so I like to look at Hoffenheim Asian handicap 0 to 11.
Let's go to the next game. Is Werder Bremen Wolfsburg. Bremen lost 5-0 to Freiburg and 1-3 to Hoffenheim and 3-0 to Bayern Munich. So 3 consecutive defeats for them. Also not great. Wolfsburg with 4 draws and 1 defeat in the last 5 games. Difficult one if we check the odds, actually, Ronan.
Yeah, both these teams are in a cup action, like I was mentioning earlier. Bremen played Bielefeld in the cup quarterfinal on Tuesday, and then Wolfsburg travelled to Leipzig to both away games. But they will have kind of an eye on the cup, because these are 2 teams that I suppose a cup win would be huge for them, and they're not perhaps like Leverkusen have had tastes of success recently. The teams that in the past have tasted success, but not for a while, and a good cup run could be massive. So you'll have to see if there's any injuries or any kind of fallout from those cup games. You would think that Bremen should beat Bielefeld anyway as a lower division club, but yeah, playing away at Leipzig could be a tricky one from Wolfsburg. So yeah, this is a match that is kind of super hard to call. Bremen, like you said, 3 defeats in a row, so you kind of have to look at Wolfsburg to be the team that can pick something up from this game, maybe even a point, because they've had 4 draws, like you said. The last 2 meetings between the 2 sides were both wins for the away side, so that kind of leads us into the fact that I know the away team might be the one to favour here. Wolfsburg won 2-0 at the end of last season, so hopefully more of the same from them, and Bremen won 4-2 earlier this season in a cracking game. So yeah, hopefully it's a good game, but the odds kind of where I'm looking for value perhaps is Wolfsburg draw no bet, because at least if it's a draw you get your money back to 207, because I'm not sure exactly. I'm not going to put my life on the line for either of these teams, but Wolfsburg are in a slightly better form.
And the most interesting game on Saturday is Frankfurt Leverkusen, second against the third. We just saw Frankfurt losing to Bayern. Remember also, they are alive in Europe. They are facing Ajax in the Europa League. Their run is bad lately, or since Marmoush's departure, is only 1 win against Kiel in the last 5 Bundesliga games. On the other hand, Leverkusen, probably they are in a better mood and in a better level, waiting for that tie against Bayern Munich. No goals conceded in the last 3 games. Perhaps also they are not scoring enough, Ronan, but they get to the tie against Bayern Munich in a good moment. I will ask you on Monday, of course, about that tie, but the bookies place probably too favorite Bayern Munich, and considering what we've seen this season between these 2 teams, be careful for Company's men.
Yeah, I think it will be a match they'll have to be careful of. Like I said earlier, 𝗀𝗏𝗏 𝐻𝐴𝐵 has never lost against Bayern Munich. So, yeah, it's interesting to see if the bookies have picked up on that, or by the time the match comes around next week, will they have picked up on that. But 𝗀𝗏𝐻𝐴𝐵 𝐻𝐴𝐵, he continues to be kind of unbeaten in different competitions, because away in the Bundesliga, he's on a 28-game away unbeaten run at the moment, and that's the Bundesliga record. That's the best ever performance, so could make it 29 on Saturday evening. He's had 20 wins and 8 draws in that time, so his away form has been absolutely sensational, and one of the players that's key to that is Florian Wirtz. He now has 10 assists in this season. He had 11 assists in the Bundesliga last season. He's the only one of 2 players in Europe's top 5 leagues that have done it this season and last season, and the other is Mo Salah. So he's keeping some quite fancy company at the moment. And if he does play this one, because this could be one where 𝗀𝗏𝐻𝐴𝐵 𝐻𝐴𝐵 might have one eye on the Champions League, like we said, at Bayern Munich, but for Bayern Munich, you're going to win the title, so they can probably get away with resting players a bit more, and maybe Bayer Leverkusen, they should be a certainty for a second, so maybe they will be thinking the same, that they can rest players in this one. So if Florian Wirtz does start, he could be a good option to add to those assists, and Florian Wirtz over a half assist, and 0.5 assists is 4, so I think that's pretty good if Schick or Boniface can get their scoring boots on, depending on who starts in this match, because Florian Wirtz is very good at creating assists. He's got 10 already this season, so yeah, 4 looks pretty good as an option for him to put in an assist if he does start in this one, because we've seen him being rested for big games before by 𝗀𝗏𝐻𝐴𝐵 𝐻𝐴𝐵, because he is a delicate player, to say the least. He is a player that if you were playing as an opposition defender, you might want to put your boot in through him when you're making a tackle against against him because he is technically gifted. So this one, I think Leverkusen can continue their good away form and their good form in this match. They've won the last 4 meetings, including 5-1 in this away match last season. Leverkusen are 8 games unbeaten in the Bundesliga to start 2025. They haven't conceded in the last 3 games, like you said, so more of the same could be on the cards here. So a Leverkusen win at 177 looks pretty good.
All right. Let's go to the games we have on Sunday. We have only 2 games. Union Berlin hostel Kiel is the first one. Kiel, even if they are last in the standings, 4 points away from Bochum. They should get points ASAP if they want to get safe after losing to Leverkusen and Frankfurt. The last win was against Dortmund. And Union Berlin smashed by Dortmund 6-0, lost to Gladbach, but of course playing at home against Kiel, they should be considered as favourites.
Yeah, they should. Before those 2 disappointing results, they obviously had a big win over Hoffenheim, or if we remember, a 4-0 win that kind of came out of nowhere, and hopefully more of the same for Union Berlin if they want to keep picking up points. And Kiel have suffered a blow, kind of. 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲 has been ruled out for the rest of the season. He's had to have surgery. That kind of news came out during the week. So he played 17 times for Kiel before picking up the injury in February, and then now he's out for the rest of the season. So that could be a blow for them, and they've had blow after blow at the moment because 6 games without a win. They've had 4 losses in that time, so they are not on a good run at the moment, and they've conceded 2 or more goals in every single game they've played since the start of the year, since the start of January. So Kiel are not good at the back. Union Berlin, as we've seen in recent times, they tend to play low-scoring games. I know a couple of them we haven't seen recently, obviously, but before that they kind of were playing. They were playing kind of conservative football. They were keeping things tight. They were defensive-minded first. So Union Berlin looks pretty good here, 159. But I'm going to go even bigger and think that they can win this 1-0. They can keep a clean sheet and go on to win. So Union Berlin to win 2-0, 280 was my tip for this match.
And the last game is Augsburg Freiburg. With Freiburg in the Champions League spots, it would be a huge surprise if they are able to play Champions League next season. 4 consecutive wins, all of them without conceding, but it's tough to go to Augsburg. No defeats in the last 7 Bundesliga games. Also, they are having a great 2025.
Yeah, these are 2 teams that are in kind of good form at the moment, and they've all been kind of playing tight matches in Augsburg's last 3 games. And maybe not the 3-0 in over Gladbach, but they had 2-0 before that. They're unbeaten in 7 matches. Freiburg, in their last 4 games, they've been winning them all 2-0. So, yeah, these are teams that aren't conceding a lot of goals at the moment. A draw could be a good option here at 344. For the second time in this show, I don't think it's ever happened before in a Bundesliga preview. I'm going to back another correct score, tip another correct score, 0-0. It never happens in Bundesliga matches. That's 10. I wouldn't put too much money on it, but there could be other better value out there. These teams aren't teams that tend to score a lot of goals. They're not conceding a lot at the moment, but they're definitely not scoring goals throughout the season. Augsburg are only averaging 1.2 goals per game. Freiburg 1.5 goals per game. So total goals under 2.25 could be a good option at 192. But if I am going to go for a 0-0, one of those teams at least needs to get a nil on the score sheet. So my main tip is both teams to score no at 193. Because both these teams have been kind of keeping lots of clean sheets. So there's no reason to think one of them can't keep a clean sheet again here.
Well, this is it. All eyes, I guess, in Germany are in the Champions League in this German tie between Bayern Munich and Bayer Leverkusen. We will analyze it the following week, but there's still many things to check and see in Germany in the Bundesliga. Remember, guys, of course, that you can post also your own tips in Oddspedia and be able to win some cash prizes or create your own custom competition thanks to rivals from Oddspedia. Ronan, your safe bet?
I said before I would never put Dortmund in a safe bet, but I'm not backing them to win. They could lose 7-2 and this safe bet could still come in. So my safe bet is Dortmund over 1 goal, 124.
And the ACCA?
My ACCA is Dortmund over 1.5 goals and Hoffenheim over 1.5 goals. That's for 397.
Well, good luck to everyone. Thank you, Ronan. Bye-bye.